Welcome to Hashtag Genre, everybody. I'm your host, Logan, and joining me live via internet and Discord, it is the other co-host, Chris Nakamura. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing good, doing good.
I heard you do like an epic yawn right before we went live, so I'm guessing you're like me. You've been doing a little too many late nights.
Well, I do
Uh,
late nights anyway.
yeah, I mean, that's your normal.
The thing is, normally Samantha wakes me up in the morning, but she's currently still asleep. So
Oh,
I had to wake myself up, and I was like, "This is odd."
my child isn't waking me up.
Yeah, I was like, "This is weird. This is a strange occurrence. Doesn't normally happen, but I'll take it."
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's nice to just like wake up and be like, oh, it's not my alarm clock. It's just
Oh, it was still
time
an
to get
alarm
up.
clock.
Oh, your alarm clock's still went off? Okay.
Yeah.
So not quite that nice. Uh, but so I know you've been doing some Valorant, but what else have you been watching and playing?
That's kind of it. I mean, like Valorant beta, we'll talk about it, but like
Yeah.
Valorant beta shut down a few days ago because they're prepping for the full release on the 2nd. So it's kind of been like a mix of like withdrawal syndrome and just like I I'm not like I'm like at a loss because the with quarantine and with all the craziness happening, like you fall into like the pattern, and so like Valorant was a huge part of that pattern. It's like now
Yeah.
what do I do?
Yeah, you fall into like patterns and ways of going about life that are just like the routine is now rote because there's very little variation, and so anything that upsets it is just kind of shocking. Like I had to go into the office one day this week because we were having some service done to the phones, and that
Oh, did it
required a
feel
tech.
weird?
But
Did it feel weird?
it did. It felt super weird. Like, admittedly, it's just like I work in an office with like two other people. It's not like there was no one else
Sure.
there. But like we had a whiteboard with a calendar that we used to keep track of stuff, and it was still everything from March. And
Oh,
then
of
there's like
course.
this weird like white blank space where it was just like, oh, that's when quarantine was starting to go down, and I stopped paying attention to the calendar so much for like, here's the upcoming projects, and more of the I might have to be getting everything out. So it was kind of weird to realize that the office just still had that up there, but because it was AT&T doing the service update and they give you that ridiculous window of like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., I was just like, well, shit, I'm gonna have to be in the office because they call you 30 minutes prior to arrival. I'm like, well, if they arrive at 8, which probably won't happen, but if they do, that means the phone is gonna ring at 7:30. It was just bizarre to think about a commute. It's been only 2 months on the idea of, oh, I have to get up, I have to get all my stuff together. It's not like I can just get on my computer and go. It's like, no, I have to grab all my things. I have to put them all in a bag. I have to figure out breakfast. I have to like make sure I figure out traffic. It's like you don't realize how much a commute is a thing until you haven't done it for 2 months, and then you do it this one random time, and you're just like, why do I do this?
Right.
like, like this was like not fun.
Did you end up
But
taking the subway?
no, I did not take the subway.
Oh,
I
okay.
I drove in. I used James's electric car because the truck is doing its thing. Um, but yeah, no, like that was just kind of bizarre. It was just like because I was become so used to not commuting or having to worry about driving into work, where it's just like I could literally roll out of bed and be on time, having like this weird 2 hour section of time that was all prepping to leave and going there. It was just kind of bonkers. Uh,
Right.
but other than that, my life has been. Well, I was telling you this before we started. I've been playing a whole lot of Civilization 6.
Yeah, 'cause it's free.
It was free on Epic's game store. Like Epic has been putting out free games. This week it is God, it's Borderlands 2, I think.
Yeah.
is
Hmm.
free. Last week it was Civ 6. The week before that it was Grand Theft Auto 5. So it's not like they're putting out these small games. These are like big titles. And I played a ton of Civilization 4. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I know I've said it to people that I'm glad I played Civ 4 before Steam was a thing because I don't have this tracker telling me how much I've played. Um, so I got it for free on Epic. I played a full game through on the Epic version. Ended up buying it on Steam only because Steam has better mod support. So I was just like, you know what? It's to buy the full pack on like Epic was like $40. On Steam it was like 45. It was just like I'll just buy it on Steam. It's an insignificant difference in terms of price. And I'm already at 30 hours and it's only been maybe a week. Friday night I was up
Right.
until we played a LAN game of Civ with some like James and some like Kelly and Charles and Jeff. We were like, let's do it for my birthday. I'm like, Civ 6 is free. You all should get it. Let's play it for my birthday. And we played for like 3 hours until like 10 or 11. And then I started a new game right after that, just on my own and played till 4 a.m., which I have
Hmm.
not done with a video game probably since college. Uh, I guess another way to put it is, you know how I'd been binge watching Avatar and Korra the last time we did an episode. I got almost all the way done. Like I was in the like starting the last season of Korra, so it had been like what maybe a week that I'd gone through Avatar and Korra, and I only had one season left. It took me that entire week to finish because I was so busy playing Civ that I wasn't watching Korra. Like that was my life the past week. I was playing nothing. I was doing nothing but Civilization and work. So
Yeah.
that was
Oh,
my fun.
I do have something that I have been playing, which is Them's Fighting Herds. I've been playing a ton of Them's Fighting Herds.
Which one?
Them's Fighting Herds. It's like the I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's like the My Little Pony fighting game, but it's
Oh,
not My
okay.
Little
Yeah, I've
Pony.
heard of that one. Yeah.
So essentially, what happened was they made a My Little Pony fighting game. It got shut down by Hasbro or whatever company owns My Little Pony. Then the creator of the show, Lauren Faust, loved the project so much that she offered to make them characters, and then ended up joining the team to like be the character designer
That
for the
is
game.
fantastic.
Right. So then it took them another couple years to like retool, get a new engine. They're running off the Skullgirls engine, and implement all this new stuff, and then to come with a full release of like here's the game. So it's kind of funny because you can tell like what characters are what characters from the original My Little Pony stuff, but they're obviously not those characters. But you can tell like
You could
what
tell
they're
like that what their inspiration was.
yeah, and you're like, oh,
Oh,
okay, I know what this character is. Okay, cool. Like it's kind of funny to see. Um,
that's hilarious.
but yeah, like it's a good time. Like I've been playing a ton of it, and it's a fantastic fighting game. So like I would have whether or not it was My Little Ponies or not, it would make me happy. I'd be happy to play it.
Is
But
it kind of like in the sense like I remember playing a bit with you when it first came out, Dragon Ball Fighter Z,
yeah,
where it just was.
um, it's just beautiful to look at, right? Like
Yeah, or that game was beautiful to look at, and it was also kind of it was fun to play. And even if you didn't have any Dragon Ball knowledge, it you could still pick up and play. Um, so that's that's all. I just love the fact that the show creator loved it enough to be like, well, we can't use my stuff, so let me create a bunch of other stuff for you.
right, it's awesome.
Oh,
It makes my day to like
that
know
that
that
that's just
that
like a happy feeling. Uh,
yeah, it's great.
but yeah, let's move along. This next topic is still under general because general is a catch-all for things that don't fit anywhere else. And it's just more of a general statement and how just Joe Rogan's podcast is going exclusive to Spotify. I don't listen to his podcast, so I don't have like
Really,
yeah, no, I just haven't.
I'm surprised. It's a fantastic podcast.
Like I've seen clips of it and I feel like Joe Rogan when he's like on like fire is Actually, he's a really good interviewer. Like, I'll give him that.
Oh yeah, he's a
Um,
fantastic interviewer, and like the thing is that the environment that they've created makes it very comfortable for people to come in and like have
yeah,
conversations.
I saw one person
Um,
say he is if Howard Stern started with podcasting, this would probably be what Howard Stern would have made.
yeah,
Um,
I mean it's just a fantastic show.
yeah,
Highly
I
recommend you at least check out.
but the crazy thing about it going exclusive to Spotify is one of the big things that Joe Rogan pioneered was the idea of like we totally are kind of copying whenever I upload them. The idea that the podcast isn't just an audio, you have the video aspect to it. I know Kind of Funny does the same thing.
Right.
But with it going to Spotify, there's been a lot of talk that it might no longer be available on YouTube and it won't be available in third party podcast players. So if you listen to it in Apple Podcasts or if you listen to it in Overcast, you're not going to be able to listen to it anymore. It's going to be locked in to Spotify. And I guess since you like his show, is this something that you're going to seek out on Spotify or are you kind
I'm
of
not
just,
entirely sure, like, because I enjoy the show. I watch it quite a bit. The only thing is, like, I don't know if it's something because I watch on YouTube and I
yeah,
like the video part of it. The video component is like a huge part of the why I watch because I love seeing the reactions and the facial stuff. That's like a big part of my viewing experience. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna like seek it out. Um,
well, no,
we'll
it's
see.
a lot of people have
Because
been,
if he has a guest that like I find fascinating and like I need to see it, then like yeah, of course I'm gonna open Spotify and go take a look. But I don't think I would. It wouldn't become a regular. It wouldn't be regular viewing for me. I don't think
yeah,
if that makes
it's
sense.
like if it's not getting updated in my podcast app, it might as well not exist. And it's not
Right.
because I won't add it because it's not in my podcast app so much as that's where I listen to everything. Like if I can't get it on Overcast, I'm probably gonna not go through the effort of adding it if I'm only interested. And
Right.
even if I was like a heavily invested listener or viewer, I don't know. Like it's what happened with Howard Stern when he went to Sirius XM is yes, he walked away with like a ton of money, but he shed so much of his listener base.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the same. It's the same thing where we're talking about with like Ninja and Mixer,
Yeah,
where I watch Ninja. The only reason I was watching him is because I was turning on Twitch and seeing like, oh, he's on. I wasn't planning my schedule around Ninja. He just happened to be on when I was like looking through channels. And
yeah,
then
it's
now, like, I'm not gonna go to Mixer to look for Ninja. Like, I'm not going to look for Ninja. I'm going to the regular platform I'm going to, and then like looking and seeing what's around.
yeah, and it's I know Spotify has like a lot of their push into podcasting is about ad revenue because they are the streaming side on the music end because there's people like me who will not ever pay for it because I just don't listen to enough music.
Right.
And if I started paying, I wouldn't be paying Spotify. Um,
Yeah, I pay for Apple Music
exactly. I would be using Apple
personally.
Music. It's just like I already don't go out of my way to open Spotify unless there's a song I want to listen to that I know I won't want enough to buy.
Right, but
Like
then you might as well just use YouTube Music.
exactly. And like there's so many options out there for getting that I'm not bound to Spotify for any of it. And I don't know if I feel from the Spotify angle, I get that podcasting makes sense because it's another form of audio. So why not go for that? Why not try to lock that down? But is their audience that into podcasting that it's going to actually be worthwhile for them in the long run? Like I don't know. Like they shelled out 100 million apparently for this, and it's just like, is that gonna? Are you gonna make your investment back? I don't know. I don't think you
Yeah,
will. Like it's like the Howard Stern again example. Like Joe Rogan is walking away with a lot of money. He's gonna be fine. Uh, but who knows if this is gonna be the thing that helps Spotify? And I don't think so because how many people where you watch it on YouTube, and if you're subscribed on YouTube or you're subscribed on your podcast player, and the new episodes just don't keep coming in, it's shocking how quickly something that you are a fan of and are a regular listener to can go away from just like from your regular viewing or listening habits just because there aren't new episodes for a while. You kind
Right.
of just can forget about it. And so it might be one of those scenes where if someone doesn't realize, oh, hey, he went all the way to Spotify, and they go to check it out, they might not necessarily care enough to be like, oh, I'm going to add this to my, like, a Spotify thing. I'm going to make sure to check out Spotify once a week so I can get my new, like, you're asking people to create a whole new pattern of behavior just for one show.
Yeah.
And I it's the
I don't
Game of
know if
Thrones
that's gonna
problem.
happen.
Yeah, it's the Game of Thrones problem.
Yeah.
How many people subscribe to HBO for Game of Thrones and then canceled? And I wonder how much of this is going to be the same with Spotify and Joe Rogan. How many people, if he does retain this audience, how many people are going to open up Spotify, listen to Joe Rogan, and then close the app?
Yeah.
Like,
Totally with you.
I don't see how this is smart for Spotify. Joe Rogan, yes, he might be shedding an audience, but I would, if someone offered me $100 million check to take a major show to an exclusive network, I would think really hard about it. It's probably more money
Yeah.
than I would make standing as a standalone. So yeah, why not? Pay me, here you go, Spotify. You could pay me $100 million and we'll take hashtag General over to Spotify exclusive. I mean, our vast audience is clearly dedicated.
Absolutely.
And they will follow
They love
you.
us.
They'll follow us into oblivion and back. So call me Spotify. I'm fairly easy to find. Let's move along to some Star Wars, because for some reason, Star Wars isn't how we're ending the episode. I mean, it was bound to happen, right? But it's also like, because we were talking a bit before the
Someday.
show too, it's just like, there's not that much to talk about for a
Yeah.
lot of these things. But quick hit, High Republic was delayed to 2021 because the way it was sounds like due to just complications due to the world shutting down, they just needed to delay publishing. Not that
Makes
there's
sense.
anything with the content so much as just the distribution end is my understanding. Which is, I'm disappointed only because I was really excited for High Republic stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense,
But
and I'd
it
rather them get it right.
Yeah, I'd rather it not be I'd rather everyone at Lucasfilm be safe. I'd rather all the content creators be safe. I'd rather all the people who are binding the books or whatever together be safe. If the cost of that is everything got delayed a year, that is a cost I am more than willing to accept.
Totally with you.
So it's like sad, but I totally get it. Like, not upset at all. It's kind of, I'm surprised there aren't more things. Like, there's so many things that have been delayed or pushed back or canceled just because of the practical reality of we can't do it right now. And of course, it's going to hit Star Wars. So
Yeah.
I'm half expecting like a lot of the trilogy stuff that they've announced dates, but they haven't announced titles. I wonder if some stuff is going to get pushed because
It wouldn't surprise me.
it wouldn't surprise me. But also at the same time, what might be happening is they might just be like, you know what? We're all having to work remotely. Let's just do a ton of development work. So I'm sure they're busy, but at the same time, I don't think we're gonna see the results of that anytime soon. But
Yeah, I would agree with that.
the other big thing in Star Wars was Empire Strikes Back had its 40th anniversary last week, it's kind of bizarre. I thought this when they had the 40th for A New Hope, but the longevity of that movie is kind
It's
of
the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah, it's the best Star Wars movie, but I think we touched about this briefly when we talked about Avatar on an earlier episode. Like, I don't know if Star Wars would have been the cultural behemoth it became if Empire hadn't happened. because it just added so much more to that universe and so much more to that
Sure.
setting. But at the same time, too, if you look at blockbuster blockbusters from Hollywood from like the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, it's like you have Star Wars, you have Spielberg, and then like a couple random hits like Independence Day, where they've got have a bit of sticking power. But there's so many you go back to, like a Volcano or Armageddon, where it's like they are kind of a punchline, but they aren't necessarily a cultural phenomenon.
I feel like Armageddon is still relevant. Like people still talk about Armageddon.
Yeah, but I don't feel like they talk about it with a sense of awe the way they would, or like love the way they would, like a Star Wars, or like Independence Day. Like I might even bash on that movie every once in a while, but because I really enjoy that movie, I don't feel like the audience, like, might just be the circles I'm in. I don't feel like that same reverence exists for Armageddon so much as
I do.
Armageddon.
In my circles, I feel like Armageddon gets its due.
Okay, I have a lot of
But again,
criticism of that film.
that no, totally, I totally get it. Like I see where you're coming from, but like I personally, I think Armageddon is gets its fair
But I
shake.
would say Armageddon is also on that edge where I could see Armageddon getting that fair shake. But there's so many other films from that time period where they don't have the widespread cultural sticking power of like Jurassic Park, where everyone kind of can like has either
Or
seen it
Terminator.
or knows about it, or Terminator or Star
Yeah.
Wars, and it's just kind of crazy to realize like that movie in terms of like filmmaking technology is old, but it's still
Oh yeah.
really good to watch. It's really
And
fun
it's
to watch and
gorgeous.
gorgeous, and a lot of the effects still hold up for the most part.
Yeah. It's
It's
very, very rare.
yeah, it's one of those things where because there's some stuff in A New Hope, like I think because there's been some talk where when people try to like do a look back at the re-release with the special editions, where a lot of the touch-up work ILM did on A New Hope with the Battle of Yavin is one of the reasons why Star Wars was able to kind of continue to stay around, because if you watch the original versions with some of the effects from the 77 release, there's some clunky effects in there. That I
Oh
mean, they were
yeah.
cutting edge at the time, but they wouldn't have held up with a modern audience. Whereas Empire, so much of it holds up with a modern audience,
Yeah.
which is kind
It's
of
quite
crazy.
strange.
It's crazy to think about that. That's how much better ILM got in just a short amount of time.
Well, I feel like that's what happens when the you give a creative group of guys like resources and you give them because like think about the influx of money that probably
Yeah,
came into ILM right after
George Lucas has
New
ideas
Hope,
and he could
right?
throw money at them, which is something he would not have been
Yeah,
able to do until 77, 78.
yeah. So like that's I think where you're starting to, where you see the money kick in, where you're like, oh yeah, we can throw money into this problem.
Yeah. But it's also kind of interesting, like the reason why the battle took place on Hoth, and this is something I always find kind of amusing, and it's explains so much about George Lucas. Is if you ever wonder why he does some of the things he does, the reason why the battle takes place on an ice planet was because he wanted to make it harder for ILM, because he knew that they like cut corners and cheated a bit because they knew things were going to be on like a star field, so that
Yeah,
they had wiggle room, and he wanted to take that wiggle room away. He wanted them to be pushed to like aim higher rather than aim for what you'd already done. And it's kind of you can see that same vein with like the prequel trilogy and even the Clone Wars TV series, where he's always trying to push everyone to their max in terms of what they can accomplish on a technical level. So
yeah.
just something I always find interesting, and it's just worth noting. Empire is 40 years old, and good God, doesn't look it. Um,
Definitely not. Definitely does not look it.
So anyway, the next and final thing, Star Wars, is our Legends of the Hidden Temple in the Star Wars universe. Jedi Temple
Okay, so
Challenges premieres this week.
so I know that we joked about it looking like Legend of the Hidden Temple, and like we joked about how much of a ripoff it was. Seeing the trailer, oh my god, it is a ripoff.
Oh, it's such a ripoff, but I'm still kind of excited.
Yeah, but like I don't think my brain realized the amount of
It's
like
Legends of the
this
it's Legends of the Hidden Temple in space with Star Wars. That's
yeah.
literally it. But
But
I know
I don't think
outside,
I realized the extent of like how ripoffy it was going to
I
be
don't
until I saw the trailer.
I personally don't think it's not necessarily a bad thing because I know I've talked outside a Jedi Temple challenge. I know I've talked to people about how much Legends of the Hidden Temple was cool and how, man, why isn't there shows like that anymore? And
Oh, I love it. I think it's a great
yeah,
idea.
and I'm like,
I'm not
this is
against it.
perfect. Like, do it. Like, if anything, I would say plaudits to the digital team at Lucasfilm for going, hey, we have the ability to do that. Like,
Yeah, again, I'm not mad about it.
seriously, I
saying
think it's
like
great. I am glad it exists. Like, quite
yeah.
honestly, I know I'm not the market audience for it. I might only ever watch one episode just because
Oh,
just to check it
I'm gonna
out.
watch it all the time because
Well, you have
it's gonna
also
be
have a
great.
young one that you can be like, here, watch this. I just have myself. I have the maturity of a young child, but not necessarily the uh, you know taste of one. Uh, but I'm glad it exists. I'm glad that they were willing to do that, and I'm glad that it's gonna be a fun thing. And they got Ahmed Best in there as the host playing a Jedi. It's just I'm
Yeah.
seeing nothing negative here. As much as yes, it seems like
Mhm.
it's totally a Legends of the Hidden Temple knockoff, but that's kind of
No.
go for it. Like
Yeah.
rock it. That's a perfect type of show for YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's. I'm really excited to see kind of where they're going with it and like how formulaic it is. Are they gonna have a golden monkey that you're gonna have to put together? Is it like a Jedi artifact you got to put together in three pieces
Well,
that kids
like
can never
with the
put together?
trailer, like they had holocrons. It looked like they had to assemble a lightsaber. Or at one point, it's
Is the
like
assembling the lightsaber the
I think
golden
that's what
monkey
it is.
element of
I
the
think
show?
that because they had one bit where it looked like they were trying to do like an ice thing. I'm like, oh god, I think this is supposed to be Ilum.
Dude,
So
so okay, you've obviously watched a lot of Legends of the Hidden Temple as a child.
yeah,
The can you can you help me? I've never understood this because I've tried to figure this out a million times. Why is the golden monkey so hard? It's three pieces.
I don't know. I my personal thought about it is the pressure of time means that you are doing things before you're thinking about them. That's like you're kind of just trying to go quickly. But you're right.
Sure.
It's like three pieces, and it should not have been a challenge
It's
that some
three
people.
pieces and they all like there's obviously legs, a body, and a head. Like it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's just like
Come on, kids.
stop, breathe, just go,
And the thing is like a lot of these
and then
kids
get it done.
are obviously old enough to like where this isn't the
Right? They
problem.
were like 10 or 12, right? Or am I
Yeah, like
over?
this is
Like this is
I thought they were like even at like 7 or 8, like you should be able to make a hidden monkey.
yeah. It's the this is preschool.
Yeah,
Like this is sticking the square peg in the round hole
in the round
level of
hole.
challenge. Like you should be fine. But no, you're right. I always found that crazy too. It's just like somehow it was
I
like the hardest thing ever. Like
I told you the Halloween idea I had with Jenny that like a while ago or a couple years ago actually. And then that's when I realized Jenny's never seen Legend of the Hidden Temple. And then I was gonna do it with Donovan, one of our really good friends. And I was like, dude, we should do it. There's a if you go on Etsy, you can buy shirts, like exact replicas of
oh
the
god, you
shirts.
can get the shirts from oh
And I was like, dude, what stopped us was like, do we want to be the Blue Barracudas, or like, do we want to be, trying to figure out
Yeah,
like,
trying to
do we
figure out the
want to,
team.
yeah, I was like, oh shit, this is hard. Like, and then
Yeah.
by the time we figured it out, like came to a consensus, it was like too late to order them in time. And I was like, oh, whatever. But we were
Well,
gonna
there's
we were
always.
gonna walk around we were gonna walk around our neighborhood with like the knee pads and the helmet and the shirts.
Oh God, that would have been so awesome. Oh man. Yeah, I'm wondering what they're gonna do for like the color and the team names. Like that's something I'm wondering with like Jedi Temple
Yeah,
Challenge. Like, what are they gonna be? Like, are
are
they
this
gonna?
gonna be Padawans? 'Cause, like Padawan blue, red, whatever. Like that's gonna be boring.
Well, I think they call them. They're probably gonna call them Padawans. But
Yeah, of
I have a
course.
feeling like
But
the
like,
team names aren't gonna be like Padawan Blues. 'Cause, yeah, that
I
would
don't
be.
know. Are they gonna have like a announcer, or is it just gonna be the Jedi Master teaching them?
I don't know. But they have someone in a like full on droid costume.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
So
who knows? We will know this week some of these questions we are asking. But
I'm
yeah,
excited.
no.
I want to watch it.
I saw that trailer and I was just like I'd been kind of excited for this and then I saw this trailer, I'm like, yeah, it's exactly like I thought. Totally aimed at a younger audience, but I'm still gonna check this out.
Of course.
um Anything else on Jedi Temple Challenge before we move along?
No,
All
I think
right.
I'm good.
Making a very rare appearance, it's hashtag science with the SpaceX
Oh
Crew Dragon
boy.
launch.
Yeah,
Did you watch it at all or any of it?
I did. So I had to cover it for work because obviously it was a big social thing. That Wednesday was weird because we're all ready to go, and then they canceled it for the
Yeah,
weather
because of
stuff.
weather.
Yeah, and so it's just kind of cool to see all the stuff they're doing. Uh, I'm not going to even pretend to start to understand
Oh,
when
yeah,
I'm smart enough to understand like
it's the
the
thing where
complications of this.
I always want to buy Kerbal Space Program, but I also know I don't know enough that all I'm going to do is launch rockets into the ground.
Yeah, like I'm not intelligent enough to understand like the complexities that are
Yeah, I'm
happening.
intelligent enough to know that I'm not intelligent enough to be a rocket scientist.
Right. So that's sort of like where I'm at with that. But that being said, it's super cool.
Like, there's so much about what SpaceX has done is cool to think about because isn't the capsule reusable?
I think so, yeah. I
Yeah,
think a
because the
lot of it
rocket
is.
is reusable, the crew capsule, the Crew Dragon is reusable, which means that this is like probably going to be the most cost-effective rocket out
Ever.
there.
Yeah.
But it's really cool because we haven't had like a rocket or shuttle launch from the United States since 2011. There's but like even like the capsule itself, like we're so used to like having all these like physical buttons because like we watch like the movies like Apollo 13 where you have like the physical controls and like the buttons that they have to push, and then you watch the from the inside of the Crew Dragon and it's all touchscreens. It's just like, man, this looks like if someone had like a small budget and they needed to make a tiny spaceship, this is what it would look like.
It's kind of true.
From the spacesuits through the touchscreen panels, I was like, man, this is not at all how we've previously seen anything when it comes to going up to space.
True.
Like, which is kind of, it's cool. Like, I'm big on there needs to be more done in space exploration. Like, it's like when like the stat that people like to throw around is the fact that the scientific discoveries made either trying to get to space or made in space have been more profitable than the cost of the program. Like it is a net boon to the American economy. It's a net boon to the world's understanding of how things work. And so it's just like we need to keep doing it and having programs like this where now we have a private company capable of launching people into space, reusing pretty much every aspect of it except the rocket fuel. Just like it feels like we're on that weird edge where science fiction will always pretend that something would be 10 years away, and it feels like that 10 years away of we might have like autonomous mining on asteroids feels like that might actually be that's definitely something that's going to happen in my lifetime, but is that going to happen before I'm 40? And it's like, who knows?
Right.
It might. It
It
might
might not.
not. But it feels like stuff like this makes it that much closer to being reality.
Sure.
So
I mean, did you see they docked with the International
I
Space
haven't
Station today?
watched the docking video. I knew they've docked. I saw that they
Yeah.
docked, but they had already docked by the time I was on YouTube to watch anything.
Yeah, so
Uh,
they docked this morning and they dropped off 2 astronauts.
yeah, there.
So that's
So,
cool.
which is cool. The Verge had a nice video, kind of like breaking down both the launch and a lot of the work going on behind the scenes with NASA, SpaceX, and Boeing. So I'll make sure to link that in the show notes. But it was just I went on YouTube because I didn't watch it live, so I went on YouTube and there's a bunch of places, bunch of news outlets that have reposted the video of the launch, and so you can sit there, you could watch basically the entire thing, which again, it's kind of crazy to think about how probably even like a decade ago, people would have totally been like, oh, yeah, that's a thing. But like 15 years ago, the idea that you would have all these cameras all over that and able to watch it live, it's kind of crazy that we're able to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so it's just, I think it's just a moment I wanted to highlight because it's a moment that this really cool thing happened. But at the same time, this is the point where we've all been either in self isolation or indoors for the most part over 2 months.
Right.
But
It's just a
we,
nice. It's just a nice thing to.
it's a
It's
yeah,
like
it's
a
a
nice.
nice thing to watch and see that
Right.
yeah, we can still do things like this.
Right.
So it just was a happier subject on something I find cool that I thought we should quickly talk about. So
Definitely.
yeah. Just if you haven't watched it yet, you should go out and watch it.
Yeah, it's
But
very cool to see like a rocket launch in 2020.
yeah, it's a really cool thing to see a rocket launch in 2020. It's really cool to realize that SpaceX is already talking about space tourism. And we can get back into our old conversation where we lost half the audio when we were doing a test for hashtag where we determined whether or not we wanted to go on space vacations. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's space is capable in my lifetime. Will I have the money to do it? Probably not. But hey, I have the option, and that's what counts.
That's true.
Let's move along to games. Not too much to go through here, but some interesting stuff along the way. So was more of a gameplay reveal for the League of Legends Wild Rift. And
Yeah.
you, being the guy who plays League of Legends, I just wanted to let you share your thoughts with the universe.
Yeah. I mean, it looks solid. I mean, it looks like all the other. It looks like what from like Vainglory to um, just all the other MOBA or console based MOBAs. Uh, it is different. A lot of so they talked about champions and like making sure they fit or they work in a mobile or like with a controller setup.
Yeah,
What they call it. So right now it's working on twin sticks, meaning it's working with thumbstick. Right? So it's working with your left and right thumbstick. So you're moving around with your left thumbstick and you're aiming with your right. Um, and
yeah,
are you
that's
aiming skill shots
similar.
with your right?
Yeah, I think that's similar to Halo and a lot of other.
Well, no, I mean
Right?
like that. Well, that's how FPS games work on twin stick shooters.
Yeah,
But like when I or there, well, twin twin stick shooter particularly means that you're doing like like Raiden is technically a twin, like could be considered a twin stick shooter. Geometry Wars is technically a twin stick shooter. It's like where it's top down and you're or like anthropomorphic perspective. So like you wouldn't call an FPS a twin stick shooter. It uses both thumbsticks, but you're using them to control a singular body. So like it's not so much where you're moving around with your left stick and you're aiming with your right. It's the same thing, but you're moving, technically you're not aiming with your right stick, you're moving your character's left to right. So you're still moving the character, right? So both
Yeah,
thumbsticks are working in conjunction to move the character. Where in a twin stick shooter, you're moving your character with the left stick, and then your right stick is purely moving your your aiming
got it.
device.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but yeah.
So, right. So, like, this working off that principle. So, like, a lot of the abilities needed to be changed. A lot of this stuff, like certain champions that have like things that are like that you have to click, like point and click abilities, needed to be changed because obviously you're not going to
Yeah,
point
you're
and
not going to
click
point
in
and
a
click. Yeah.
right. So things like that had to be changed, and so they showed off a lot of that, and like just sort of gave you an idea, and like how to make, and they did stuff like how to make the game a little faster, like some characters scale faster because they want the game to move a little quicker. The Summoner's Rift is the map for League of Legends, and so Summoner's Rift has been condensed down a little bit, so it's a lot shorter, it's a lot smaller. Um,
Yeah, because
so
what is the match time they're aiming for? Because are we seeing like a 10-15 minute match or
they're saying 15 to 20 is what
15
they're
to
looking
20?
at.
Yeah, so about half as long as a typical, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So again, I'm not like I'm excited because like I'll jump in, but like I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be like a main form of playing. My more interesting thing to me is like when it's gonna come to phones first, but I think they said it's gonna come to consoles, or at least obviously they're planning for it to come to consoles, and so I'm more curious about that and seeing how that does because MOBAs historically haven't done that well on consoles. Smite was the only one that really had some kind of sticking power on consoles, but even then, it died rather quickly. Um,
Yeah, and that's
so this
kind
is
of
the
how my interest in looking at this has been like how many people who are fans of League of Legends are gonna do play both.
yeah,
And
because the game's obviously going to be different, like very, very different.
yeah,
So
so it's just like I'm sure there's going to be crossover there. I also wonder how much of this is the fact that so many people play games on mobile devices now that it makes sense for Riot to start going after that market.
right,
But
I mean, like Vainglory is a huge deal,
yeah,
and like the mobile MOBA market is like a big deal. So I'm not scared about that. I think they're going to make a lot of headroom there. My thing again is more the console space and like, okay, what does this mean for consoles? Like, obviously that's a huge untapped market for Riot. And so
because if it
and
sticks,
they
that means they've just broadened their entire audience base by
right,
a lot.
right, because like think of the games they have out right now, like Legends of Runeterra is a mobile and PC thing. Valorant is going to be only a PC thing. Uh, I mean, you could bring it to consoles, but like, I don't think there's plans for that right now. I think they only have plans for the
Well,
PC
given the
release.
type of gameplay that it's going for, I get why they wouldn't like you could port it,
Right,
but I also understand why you wouldn't.
right. I mean, there's rumors that they were testing it on mobile, and I was like, that seems like a disaster. But um, we'll see how that goes. But the thing is, it's interesting is like they also have the fighting game coming up. We don't know what that is. I guarantee you that's going to be probably console and PC. They have, or maybe just PC to start, and then consoles eventually. I don't see a world where if it does well, it doesn't eventually make it to console. Um, they
Well,
also
also there's the
have
fact that there's so much of the tech now; it's capable to develop something that works on both without. It
relatively
seems
easily,
like
yeah,
it's relatively easy, and I know that there's some games on PC where I still play it with a controller.
right,
So I feel like anymore there's less of a reason for a game if its primary input method is going to be a controller there's no reason why you shouldn't
Yeah.
have it on both.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing about the like third party studio games that they have made. I think they're doing like a couple of side scrolling action adventure games, like Mark of the Ninja style action adventure games. Like I think they have a couple of those in development. I think they announced them at Game Awards last year. And so I don't know where those are going. I think they're going to. I almost 100% sure they're going to PC, but are they going to consoles? I have no idea. Um,
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's interesting too that they went from being only League of Legends or known only for League of Legends, and it's like in the past 2 years, we've known that
oh,
there's
not
been a
even
bunch,
2 years. It's
not even
been like
two,
a
yeah,
year.
yeah. But what's great is how much of it have they put out in this short period of time?
Well, yeah, and the thing is, like, not just how much they've put out, but
How
how much they've hit.
and the high quality of it. It's not like they
Yeah,
put out something and everyone's like, oh, whatever. It's like it's good and it shakes up whatever field that they're entering.
right. And I think it's interesting to see, like, because obviously all this stuff's been worked on for years. I think someone
Chris, you are breaking up on our end. Are you still,
which is in yeah,
Chris? Are you
can you
still
hear me?
able to hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, you were cutting out for just a moment, but it sounds like you're cleared up again.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think like this is the 6th year of Valorant development, so like that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
that's a long time for game development anymore.
Right,
Like unless it's a AAA title, like I can't like because even I want to say Anthem they started in 2011, and that's like a 6 year title. And
right,
look at how that one went.
right,
A lot of that 6 year was them restarting multiple times. Um, but yeah, no, I think a lot of it it's just it's interesting what Riot's doing. Like they have the independent spirit in terms of game development that seems to be gone when you have people who are more concerned about the quarterly results in
right,
charge. So that's not shots fired at any one or multiple game publisher.
right.
As he gulps rather loudly.
Uh,
But yeah, which is I as much as like I only played League of Legends briefly, I actually preferred Heroes of the Storm because it was easier and I wanted to just quickly pick up and play rather than like learn and play.
right,
But Riot is easily like is the game studio right now where there's a lot of good attention being looked in their being thrown in their direction because of what they're putting out.
right.
They like they're backing up their words with action, and that's you know what we need more of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Riot in action, a certain game that you haven't been able to play for a couple days because the beta closed down comes out on June 2nd. So,
Yeah.
how much of June 2nd is going to be spent playing Valorant?
I would say it's probably the normal amount. I think like I fall into a pattern of like how I play it. The the thing that I'm concerned with is like I'm not 100% sure if it's ready for release, like full release. I think the game still has a lot of like quirky things and like a lot of features still missing. Uh, like key ones. I think obviously beta testers and people that are fans of Riot or fans of the genre or like people that were interested in playing the beta are understanding of like okay, cool, as a core feat like for more hardcore people and people that like they're coming from CS:GO or coming from like just fans of Riot or whatever, like competitive fans, all we want is a competitive mode that's balanced, that's fun, that's whatever.
Yeah,
That's what they have. Uh, but like for a more casual audience, like now it's full release and people have been hearing about it. You have a lot of people coming in that like have no idea what this is or like don't really
yeah,
understand
they
it.
won't necessarily know, and it might be like what it sounds like. What they should have done is they should have pulled a Google open beta. Just like
Yeah, I mean like
anyone who wants to play it can play it, but we're not going to call it finished.
right. And so obviously they're gonna keep iterating and keep going because that's kind of Riot's MO. Riot's the best, I think the best company in the world right now at like iterating and like adding and as like
Well,
because look at what League of Legends was when they started, right? And then look at it now.
I feel like that's kind of become the trend in a lot of game development.
Right,
Uh, with some of these, I mean, Riot is of course a gigantic studio, but a lot of the games I play from like Paradox have that, where there's this constant iteration and tweaking and refinement and building more, features and abilities into the game. So that way the game from when it was released to present, it could be very different.
right,
Um, but I know Civilization, especially with 6, has been in the same way, where there's more tweaking and refining and more like extra content. But Civ 6 that extra content, it's not like Riot where a lot of the funding is coming from skins. Like Civ 6, they're still treating it like DLC, but like it feels like that's become the trend now is you don't build a game and then release a sequel in 2 years. You build a game and then you treat that as a platform for 4 to 5.
right.
And as
So yeah,
I'm
like
okay with
I'm
that.
no,
Like,
I'm totally fine with that. Like it's exciting to me, but like I can see it happening where like people are going to have um issues with things or like where's this or where's that, and then just like it's gonna leave a bad first impression in people's mouths because it's just
yeah.
not like it's pretty bare bones right now. Like it doesn't have a you don't really have a profile page, and you don't really have like there's no spectate feature built in. Well, there is, but like it's kind of bad. But like
So like a lot
there's
of the
just
things you would have expected from a full release title of this in
right
this
like hey maybe
genre is not there yet.
right like hey maybe they'll turn it on the second, right? But like for everything we've been playing in the beta, it's just not there. And so I was like, oh well, you know, that's a thing.
Yeah, I mean that's I think a valid thing to be concerned about, but it's still kind of exciting that they've gone from announcing it's like your whole thing if it's only been a year. They went from we first heard about this game officially. Was it this year?
Yeah. Or like this past year in October or whenever their 10th anniversary thing was. So you had like October.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that. Not only was this game in development for 6 years and we weren't like aware of it, but it went from we're announcing this game to here's the beta for this game to we're launching this game. And that period of time has only been like 6 months.
Well, yeah,
Seven,
so
eight,
here
eight months.
it was teased under the name Project A in October. Then they officially announced the game with the name and the official like here it is in March. So
Yeah.
that's 5 months, and then they were like closed beta in April, and then now full release in June or yeah June.
If you had like until you told me that it was going to be released in June, like I hadn't been paying as close attention to it because I've been really busy playing Civilization and not paying attention to anything else in the world. I would have guessed that it was coming out in the fall,
Well,
and that
yeah.
this was
So
like
like
an
this.
early beta type thing.
So this is
And
the interesting. This is the interesting thing. So like but they were live streaming when they announced it. So they were streaming on. I forget what they were doing. They're doing some kind of talk, and like they're like, "Cool, we have Valorant news." I was like, "Oh, I'll watch it, whatever." So they're talking about Valorant, and then they go, "Cool, we have an announcement." So like, and they did the bait and switch. They're like, "Hey, so we said that we had a very ambitious like release for like later this year." And so sadly, we're not going to be able to release in a few months. We're releasing in a few weeks, and then everyone like that.
ah!
And I was like, well, part of me was like, yes, okay, cool. They're delaying it. They're working a little bit, and then they
Yeah.
were like, nah, we're going
No,
on. I was
bro,
like,
we're
oh,
putting it up now.
I was like, oh god. So yeah, like I'm excited. I think the game's great at its core, but I think the problems they're going to run into is like for more casual people not knowing or like being a little too bare bones for people.
Yeah, it's like because I know we talked about this. The thing, my thing, where it's like if you threw me in with a group of people who had never played Halo before, they would be like, "Oh my god, Logan's so good," But if you threw me in a room full of people who did nothing but play Halo, I'd be the worst player there. It's like that's going to be me walking into that game, and it's just like if the only people who are able to stick around are the people who are really into it, like that's going to be the other thing that could hurt is if there's not as much there for the casual gamer, and that means there's less casual gamers in the system. That means casual gamers like me are going to be less likely to stick around because it's not fun if you're going up against people who are doing nothing but play this game.
Right.
So
Totally get it.
still gonna play it.
Yeah. So we'll have fun. We'll have a good time.
We'll have a good time. The next and final bit of news, this might be our shortest episode yet. PS5 game reveal is coming up. I know there was some Xbox third-party titles last month, and there's supposed to be some more Xbox stuff in July, but we're starting to see stuff from the new consoles, which is, I guess, exciting. Do you know anything about? I know that there's a lot. It looked like it hasn't been confirmed for this week officially, but any rumblings around Sony?
So Sony's doing something in June. I get the exact date. I think it's the 5th, the 15th, something like that. It's supposed to be their original E3 stuff that they were going to show at E3, or like at least around E3 time, because we're hitting that point, right?
I feel like we're going to see a lot of stuff like this because we're like so many marketing teams, so many plans, so many things are built around E3 that all of these places are going to have this content that they would have been sharing in June. It makes sense to continue to share it.
Yeah, so PS3 is going to be in June, and then we have the Xbox event in July. So we're going to get the wave of like, here we go, here's the new consoles. So I know price points are where the most like contentious thing. That's where the most news is leaked. PS5 has been rumored to be around $500, which actually isn't that bad. I thought it was going to hit like 600.
Especially with a lot of the tech that's been thrown about or mentioned for both consoles.
Yeah,
I had a feeling this was going to be like an expensive generation.
Yeah, but like $500 isn't actually that bad considering inflation, considering like the
factoring
amount of
in
tech
everything
in there.
and the tech in there, inflation, everything under the sun. It's still a really good price, but I think we've all been coddled by the fact that consoles the past decade or so have typically started at like $400.
Yeah, like PS3 was a little different. That started like $600, $700. That was ridiculous. The PS4 launched at 400, so this launching at 500 isn't actually that bad considering how much of a jump that is, tech wise.
Yeah.
Same with Xbox. I think the key thing here is like Sony's going first, so them launching $500, that says a lot. The question now is like, does Xbox launch lower? The rumors that they're launching at like 450. And obviously they're going later, so they have time to adjust. They have like a month to adjust to understand, and obviously they probably have inside information already. But like once it's already out there, they have time to adjust their
plan.
Their spin.
They get the second mover advantage.
Right.
But
so they have the advantage to spin it any way they want to, and it's kind of the opposite of what happened last gen, because last gen was the thing of like, remember Xbox came out and was like, cool, we're gonna have DMR and all this stuff, and then Sony came out and did this is how you trade games on PS4.
Yeah,
and they just they basically the game over.
Yeah, they knocked Xbox down a peg or two.
Yeah.
And
so I think like that there's a lot of chance for that stuff to happen, like that kind of stuff to happen, from Microsoft, just because I think that I think they're more in tune right now with what people want rather than Sony.
Yeah.
Just personally speaking, right?
No, I get the same vibe too. Just like following everyone talked about the new consoles and everything going on. It seems like Microsoft really learned from their mistakes and their missteps with the um, Xbox One launch, to
Yeah,
where the past 2 years in particular, they have been, if there's any one company in the gaming space that is the best advocate for just gaming, not specific to console, not specific to PC, but just gaming, Microsoft is definitely trying to be that advocate.
right.
Um, because they basically have the gaming market on PC, but they also are, I think, on some level going, it's not fair or cool or fun for anyone if we lock all this stuff down.
Right.
If you're playing on an Xbox, you should still be able to play with your friends, even if they only own a PC. If you only own a PC, you should be able to play with your friends, even if they only own an Xbox. Like you can see Microsoft definitely trying to move stuff more in that direction. I think what it comes down to for this generation in particular, because both of those consoles are just going to be damn powerful machines, it's going to be, what are the exclusive titles? And also, how do they treat, like, I think Microsoft is probably going to be the one that treats their user base better. But if there's no parity among exclusive titles, that's going to be the thing that might throw it in one or the other's favor.
Sure. So yeah,
Because
I get that for sure. The I think to me it's gonna these things are the thing I'm looking for are like you say exclusive titles, the marketing messaging, the we know the tech, so it's not like that's a big deal. Price point's a big deal to me. I think like all of these things are going to be huge for where we go for the next 5 years at least.
yeah, these consoles,
Because
from just the sound of it, are going to have staying power.
yeah, but the thing is like if they don't come out swinging, they're going to have an issue.
Yeah, both
So
need to come out swinging on some level too, because like they had their mid-cycle bumps with like the One X, or with Microsoft, and I know they done
oh
some
yeah,
to
PS4
where,
Pro, yeah,
yeah, where it's just like you have to convince people that it's worth doing another big update.
right,
And especially since it sounds like Microsoft is trying to be really cognizant of the idea that your games from one console should carry over to the next. And it's going to be a harder sell for people to buy the more expensive version if they could buy the less expensive version. Or maybe that's part of Microsoft's plan. It's like, if you don't have a 4K TV, we still have the Xbox One. Like,
yeah,
who knows how they're going to play that.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm interested to see what they show off, because I know I basically skipped the past console generation. But if I was told that I had to pick one, I know I would have preferred, in the end, I would have preferred going with Xbox, because that's just I had the 360 and all that. But PlayStation had the exclusive titles that definitely piqued my interest the most. And I'm wondering if
right.
it's going to be the same this generation.
Well, remember the thing with Microsoft is Microsoft spent a lot of money and
They bought
time in
so
the
many of
past.
those studios, and we're going to see that pay off soon.
Yeah, this is where it has to pay off. If they don't,
Exactly.
they have to show off what every studio is working on because they spent way too much money and time in the last 3, 4 years acquiring all these studios and teasing them of what they're working on and doing all this stuff, and they can't. Like this is here it is.
And this is make or
Here it
break.
is. Yeah.
Like, were all those purchases worth it?
Yep.
But that's going to wait for July.
Yep.
Um, yeah. And that does it. Anything else you want to talk about, Chris?
No, I'm good.
All right. In that case, everybody, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave feedback, write us emails, tweet at us, do all the fun things. Hit bell so that way you get reminders somewhere. We will see you guys around with Hashtag in 2 weeks. I'm probably going to be playing some Civilization 6 immediately after, and I'm probably also going to stream it. So, who knows? that that should be coming here in a bit. But we will see you guys in 2 weeks.